Hey guys, man, you're a podcast family, and you know what? We're Ron and Hope. I think you can tell this ain't Hope.
Today we're Ron and Chaz.
Yeah, we're Ron and Hope, Unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant. I'm usually getting a swallow of water or a drink of water, usually while Hope is saying that. I don't want you to go anywhere because, hey, I get it. Hope's much more fun to look at than looking at me. And not only that, she's kind of the life of the party. But I've got something today that we circled on our calendar, been looking forward a long time. So gonna be talking about the subject of anxiety, and anxiety is not in I'm having a rough spot, but in like a diagnosis. I mean somebody whose entire life was affected by it. I'm gonna let Chaz begin to tell his story, and also how he walked out of that, and also as a family, how, you know, we didn't know what was going on and how we tried to respond to it, because I don't know why the rise. I don't know if it is the way America is structured. I don't know if it's the way lifestyles are structured. I don't know if it's got something to do nutritional. I don't know what it is. But the fact that we have every preacher preaching on anxiety, the fact that there are so many shows on anxiety, the fact that there are more anxiety scriptures by far than ever before, and more in this country than any other country. Something's happened. Something shifted. Something's happened. There's a reason that there's this struggle out there, and it's very real. So I want you to hang around a few minutes. Looking forward to a couple of sponsors and everything that we've got today. But thank you for being with us. We're going to try, you know, Chaz was talking to me. Chaz is our middle child. We have Chase, we have Chaz, we have Chandlin, and in May you turned 27, I believe it was.
27.
So it's hard to believe I'm sitting here talking about kids being 29, 27, and 25. But he's the only one yet not married. He does have a girlfriend he's been dating for a long time. Mm-hmm. But he has a very unique story. All my kids seem to carve out a story. Chase has told his story before many times. You've heard the testimonies of it. Chaz's was very, very different from that. And as a family, we learned a lot through it, and then he came triumphant through it. And I want you to hear kind of his journey, because this one has the possibility to really help some people. And I'm going to let him talk in a minute, but I also want to say this. Chaz told me, he said right before this is on here, he said, I don't want this to be sad. No. And I said, somehow, you know, I think sometimes we look at our painful moments in life and we look back on them, and sometimes we have to laugh. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to look back on it. You know, I hate that happened, but it was crazy. And now looking back on it, it's kind of comical. And so we're not trying to get in your life and pull you down and make you have a drab day. The fact is, he's sitting here healthy. He's sitting here. He's a project manager at Redemption. He's sitting here getting ready to take the entire church through a building program. He will be overseeing that process. He's been in training. This is his first career job. He graduated from college right in COVID. Went through all that time, I know, and investment to go to college, didn't even get to walk. Man, I hated that for him.
Graduated through a TV screen.
Yeah, I hated that. And went to Regent University, graduated from there, and then had to do it on a computer screen. So I really wanted him to get the chance to walk. But we're here. He's a grown man, and we want to talk to you today. So let me tell you who this is the perfect broadcast for. If you yourself struggle occasionally, if you yourself has been diagnosed, if you have a family member in the house who has, I think I was raised holiness, Pentecost, miracles, good people. I say this all the time before I make a critique. I let them know my great love. I wouldn't change my heritage. I wouldn't change my church. I wouldn't change my parents. I would not change how I was raised. And the foundation that I was given is sacred to me. However, we did not believe in counselors. I'd never even heard of such a thing as a Christian counselor till I got to Bible school. I want you to understand, I didn't even know the thing existed, because, you know, God handled things at the altar. And that's where all of your emphasis went, and that's where, and you know, whatever it was, you bring it to the altar. There were church splits in the 40s, 50s, and 60s over, in our denomination, over whether or not to take medicine and go to doctors. Mm-hmm. And so somebody coming up, a panic attack and fear and anxiety, you were going to the altar. Now, in some cases, rightfully so. Because there can be the spirit of fear, and it doesn't respond to counsel, and it doesn't respond to appeal. It responds to being broken and being cast out. However, I've always said if you buke it and it don't buke, it ain't a devil. Because if you rebuke the devil, the Bible tells me he has to go. When some symptoms stay, then maybe that is not the origin. So I'm not criticizing anybody and your method at dealing with your situation. I'm going to reveal and be vulnerable in some of my own cases. And there's nobody that believes in the power of God any more than me. Yeah. But the fact is I've had at my own different times in life, my own struggles where I had to seek out help. We'll talk about that. Chaz, what you felt and kind of when you started feeling, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. It's fuzzy to me now. But what were some of the things you experienced before we sought out help? What do you remember?
I mean, so I think that I was really young, and it was almost like it was just like it just kind of appeared. Yeah, because I don't have
gradual. You just kind of
no. And the thing is, a lot of people say that they can tie something to it. Like they say, "Oh, well, this happened to me, so it made me feel this way,"
yeah.
or I developed this from that. But I don't have a day where I can sit here and say, "Oh, this is what happened." I just remember as I got older, it just was continued to get worse. And I remember I went to probably 5 or 6 different schools, including, being taken out and being homeschooled just because I ended up not being able to go to school.
So what was the feeling though? Was it fear? Was it panic?
It was.
What was it?
It was fear of one who was leaving the house, which I don't know why. So y'all remember I never went to friends' houses. They always came to our house.
I remember.
And I can't explain why, but everyone and my best friend, that's why I have a small friend group, because my best friends, they know that. They're the ones that were there with me during that season. But it's hard to explain because I try to tell this to people, that people who haven't experienced that kind of anxiety, other than the normal kind of anxiety that's like that a normal human has for whatever reason, they can't understand it. They don't understand, why you do the things you do, or why you feel a certain way, or whatever. But when you tell them that, they don't understand it because they haven't felt it. So and it doesn't make sense. A lot of times I would feel those ways. I would have like intense fear, or just like to the point of panic attacks, but I didn't know where it came from. I could just feel it, and as soon as it started, I knew, it was going to be bad. It was going to go downhill.
Now, as a parent, let me interject. That was tough to watch. I had no experience with that, and regretfully, and we've talked through this, and I've apologized in so many ways if I was ever out of line and responded different. I remember one of the first nights, I'd say if you were 5-ish, you were a small kid. Mm-hmm. There was one night we did our prayers, and then you made me take all of your stuffed animals and turn them toward the wall.
Yeah. And it sounds weird and funny.
And we can talk about it and smile now. But yeah. You had some things, and I just thought up to that time you was being a little bit rebellious. You having an attitude with your dad. I got to correct you, Chaz. We ain't doing this tonight. Stuff like that, because I had no clue that you were struggling with something internal. I just thought you were being aggravating as a kid.
So that wasn't necessarily the anxiety. That was the OCD. That was like, I did like,
and your child diagnosis was OCD and anxiety. That was your child diagnosis.
So, people with OCD, especially, who struggle with it really bad, they do random things for no reason. But once they get in the thought in their head, some people call it intrusive thoughts.
It's hard to remove it.
Yeah. So you have to do it. You have to do that thing that is in your head, or it won't go away.
And I remember you struggled with change. Okay. Like you didn't like to leave the house, but your house was your world. and you could control everything in your house. And I do remember that something that seemed to be a trigger for you is if, and this was a problem living with me, because my schedule can change on a dime. So someone who really, you would ask me in the morning, what are you doing today? And you wanted to know what I was doing that day. And if something came in and that switched, I remember a lot of times that was a trigger for you.
Yeah.
Anything that changed the kind of way you saw that thing going inside your mind would be a trigger sometime for panic. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. I think it was, I would ask that, and then I would ask the same thing at nighttime. I would have to, I would sit there and say my prayers, and I would say them a certain way, but to the OCD thing, like some people are weird.
Do it a certain way.
Some people are weird. Like some people wash their hands every 5 seconds or whatever, but mine were little random things like that. I wasn't like a germ freak, but light switches and like random things. Like you had to have your toothbrush sitting this way, or like your soap.
You did not like your food to touch.
It was like, it was weird. Like with food,
he didn't like his food to touch. Yeah, he would eat everything we ate, but he didn't want to touch it.
And the thing is, like, it drove me crazy just as much as it drove everyone else crazy. But I couldn't help it. Like I couldn't stop it. And especially when, like, now that I'm older, you learn to like how to fight those things, and I've overcame that, thank God. But at that time, you don't know what's happening. So
you don't have when you're a
mental
child.
capacity.
Yeah, when you're a child, you don't have the skills.
Yeah.
To confront it yourself. That's what I try to tell people, because when people go out seeking medicine, some of the ones that are more along the lines of what I come from, well, you shouldn't do that. You should just believe God. Well, the fact is, when if you're 27 years old, you can go seek some help. And what's some things I can do when I feel this coming on that I can execute that can help me battle it?
Yeah.
When you're 5 years old, and you see your child actually at some time almost crossing over the line of into suffering, the fact is, you need to get them to help, and the help may not be training or teaching or something that somebody can tell you because you're so young.
Yeah, and I remember, I went to, like I said, I went to multiple schools and a lot of them were schools that you guys, tried to seek out. Yeah, tried to seek out and specifically find to help me. But I remember sometimes one of those schools was a school that was designed specifically for kids who had dyslexia and other things like that. And I was still young. I was just had gone into 6th grade or something like that, and I didn't even really understand what that was. But I remember no one else except the school chair or supervisor, whatever, let me into that school because y'all had a meeting with them and let me in. So no one else could go in that school unless you had dyslexia or some other, mental dysfunction or something. So I was in there, and I remember none of the teachers or the students know that I don't have that, but I needed more time. I needed one-on-one time, so that's why they let me there. So I remember all the other teachers would tell me that I had dyslexia, or they told me that I had some sort of like dysfunction, and that like really like weighed down on me. So I would go home every day and I would say, I didn't know I had something else wrong with me. Yeah. There's something. I'm here because I'm different from everyone else. So I can't be like anyone else. So I'm supposed to feel this way because they put this on me.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you have to go home and think about is, okay, well, they go to take me in the school so I can get help, but at the same time I'm being told I have another issue. Mm-hmm. And
and that really was not the case.
Yeah.
Let me go right here. We got a sponsor. Do not click out because, man, I want you to hear these sponsors. We love our sponsors, and we are clients of our sponsors. So most, if not all, of the products that we bring to you, we're so grateful for them, and at the same time, we use these products. But over 80 million men and women in the U.S. experience thinning hair, yet it is not openly talked about, which can make going through it feel scary and stressful and just adds to the problem. I tried Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the number one dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve hair growth, thickness, visible scalp coverage for men and for women. Did you know that there are multiple causes of thinning hair? Nutrafol is a hair growth supplement that goes beyond genetics to target stress hormones, nutrition, metabolism, aging, and lifestyle factors that may be impacting your hair. Thinning is different for men than women, so Nutrafol has multiple unique formulas for men and women to provide exactly what they need based on their biology and based on their age. Every formula is a physician formulated using natural medical grade ingredients for reliable results without compromises. In clinical studies, 72%, that's incredible, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after 6 months. Nutrafol is also trusted and recommended by more than 3,000 top doctors. You can grow thicker, healthier hair. Support our show by going to Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code RAH. We need you to do that. RAH to save $15 off your first month subscription. This is their best offer anywhere, and it's only available to U.S. customers for a limited time. Plus, free shipping on every order. Get $10 off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code RAH. We love our guys at Nutrafol. I am a client of that and would certainly love if you would check that out for us. Now, he was talking about putting in that school. As a parent, let me go back to where we were. I knew my son was struggling. I knew that there was not anything that I wouldn't do for my son, but I didn't know what he was struggling with. So if I don't even know what you're struggling with, I certainly don't know how to help. So I was trying to seek out people that could. And having that to do over, I would have never allowed that to happen, because there's some things that we find out, later. We didn't find out at the time. Why? Because you're in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
You didn't come on talking about all the things that they're trying to tell you. You were never dyslexic. You never had any of that. We were just trying to find you that atmosphere where you could get one-on-one teaching, and where an atmosphere where you felt comfortable and didn't feel threatened. I don't know that we ever succeeded in that. I know we tried. I know you tried, but until you finally came home and homeschooled.
Yeah. So I remember I came home and homeschooled, and I did that for 3 years? It's 3 years, something like that.
Up till 13,
8th grade.
13, I think.
8th grade. So it was almost 3 years, and then I remember I had gone through this, and I hadn't mentioned the doctors and therapists and things yet. I had gone to therapists in Greenville and multiple doctors, and I'd go in there, and I went once a week, and I'd go in there to my therapist, and she would put the little the sensors on my head. She'd put the little the gel material.
I remember
on
you
them.
liked her.
Yeah, she really helped me a lot.
But you're a little bit older, and you have the ability to get training and manage it.
Yeah. So and like you said too about a lot of people's mindsets, or people of faith, they just think that prayer will solve every little thing, and it will. I believe that myself, but I also think that God has specifically placed people on earth that can help you.
Absolutely.
Doctors
Absolutely.
and nutritionists and things like that. And she was one of those that helped me. And she would sit there and she'd make me play little games, but the whole time I didn't know they were games, where she was testing my brain and my brain waves and how I was thinking and how it was functions and things like that. And and she would teach me skills and how to calm myself down and tricks and things like that when I felt a panic attack coming on. And she really helped me. But I remember one day, this was probably just one day after school, or we all went out to dinner, and we went to Fuddruckers. For those of you who know what Fuddruckers is, it's like a burger place.
Built a huge hamburger.
Yeah, it's a good burger. And we were there, and I tapped you on the shoulder, and I remember I just asked you if you could come outside with me, and because I just wanted to talk to you. And me and you sat. I remember we sat on the floor, on the concrete, on the little pavement step, and I just sat there, and I started crying, and I remember you were crying. And I just told you, I said, I'm done with this. I can't do this no more. I can't live like this no more. I aggravate my friends. I aggravate my family because they don't know what's wrong with me. and it sucks, and I can't go out and do anything. I can't live a normal childhood up until 8th grade, which sucked. But and I sat there and I cried, and I had just been so sick of it. The doctors and the medication, I had taken probably 7 or 8 different pills every morning combined between vitamins and other things. And I just didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to grow up and be that way. And we sat there and we prayed, and I told you, I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes just to get off of this and to just not let this control me. And you sat there and you told me, well, I'll be right with you, every step of the way. And I'm going to be by your side, and I'm not going to leave you.
We spent a lot of time together during those years. We spent a lot of time
and
together.
I would travel with you, and I'd hang out at your office and things like that. But I remember it just came to a point where in my mind I had to just make a decision, because I realized that as I got a little older that, I was in control of 90% of my feelings. And no matter if they were intrusive thoughts or anxiety or whatever, I was in control of myself. And you hear people say that all the time, but it's hard for someone to accept that when you're dealing with anxiety, but it was a truth. And, you always taught me you have to take your thoughts captive and you have to cast them out, any negative thought, and you just have to replace them with higher thoughts and godly thoughts and positive things. And you can't focus on the negative and always be worried 24/7. And I just had to put that into action. Like, I actually had to do it. And, because I would always run to my comfort zone. Like you said, I would either go to my room and just not want to deal with it, or as soon as I felt that worry come on, I would just go somewhere to where I wouldn't have to deal with it. And you can't be 30, 40, 50 years old and live like that. So I just, day by day, I would do smaller things. I would,
small victories.
Yeah, today, I'm going to go to my friend's house for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever.
Small victories.
And then, even if it was an issue, because no parent wants to take their kid to their friend's house for an hour, because then they got to drive back and pick them up. But when you know what's happening, you'll do that for them. So, I would go there for an hour and I would hang out, and then it was weird because I didn't do things like that. But then I would come back and I'd be like, okay,
I made it.
I survived.
it. I got it.
It wasn't that bad. And then, next couple of weeks I would do more things, or I'd go out to eat. It was as simple as going to a movie. I couldn't even go to the movies. It was just too much for me to handle. But I would do those things.
I'm going to back up, and I'm not saying I'm a superhero, but now you would just about go anywhere with me.
Yeah, I would go.
But with friends or by yourself or something like that, you wouldn't do it. But if I wanted to go to the moon, me and you go together, I think you found some level of comfort in being with me, because if I stuck you in the car with me, you didn't really care where we went.
Yeah, and I don't think that was like, I mean, obviously y'all are my parents. I love y'all, and I, but I don't think there was some weird like emotional attachment thing that I had. I don't think there was like an abandonment issue. I just think it was, y'all knew me.
It's a comfort,
And I could, if I were to get anxious or nervous, I could be that around y'all because you knew that.
Right. That's good. That's a good way to put it. Now let me interject something here. As a parent, the medicine thing was brutal. We went.
I changed medicine like 4 times.
Yeah. Now I will tell you this: Hope was pushing that our son is young. He don't have the skill set to manage this on his own. What he's feeling, it was bad. It was bad, especially the school part. That was where it really manifested the worst. And I didn't want to see him go through it, and I didn't want him to feel the embarrassment of having those feelings and those breakouts in public.
Yeah.
I didn't want, if you're going to deal with it, deal with it around 2 people who love you and understand it. I didn't want you to deal with it publicly, and it seemed like school was a huge trigger. A mall wasn't really a trigger or anything like that, but school was a trigger.
But at the same time, I knew what y'all were trying to do. You were trying to force me out of my comfort zone.
I was, and your mom was. Now, your mom was, he needs help. He needs some medicine. And I'm going to be honest with you, I fought that for a while. I fought that because, number one, I of my faith, and number 2, I was just being hard-headed and didn't know what I was dealing with. But I'm not going to lie to you, the medical part was brutal.
Yeah.
Because, number 1, they tried to find the right medicine. Once you find the right medicine, then they start trying to find the right dosage.
And then side effects.
Then you got the side effects. Then I know one time you gained a lot of weight, and you've always been lean and thin. One time you started taking something, you started gaining a lot of weight. And then we find out, well, this, after 3 doses, this really ain't the medicine. Let's go to another medicine. Yeah. That part as a parent was excruciating, watching what I call just the guinea pig effect. The doctors are doing the best they can. Yeah. They're trying to find out what works, but in the meantime, you were going through all these different range of emotions. Yeah. And I remember that was brutal on me as a parent to watch you go through.
Because you get so many different chemical imbalances. Because you're taking one medicine and then they take you off. And
I remember one of them that made you,
and then it changes everything again.
You went from this cool, quiet, calm, collected kid who kind of did his video games, and you had animals, you loved your animals. But I remember you started taking this one medicine, and man, you were out of control. I mean, you turned our house into like a gymnastics thing. I mean, you flipping here and flipping there, and we knew that was not your personality. Yeah. We knew that had been medically induced, and we went immediately back and said, this ain't the one. That was a brutal, brutal process. And we didn't handle everything right, and I've apologized a million times because I was not, as a parent, I was not qualified. And I had no point of reference. Yeah. Most time, if something like that has been in the family, there's a point of reference. But when you started your struggle, I had no frame of reference. But let me tell you what did happen. In your struggle, my father came to me, and I'll try to do this without getting emotional, and made a confession of his awful struggles with anxiety and OCD. My dad telling me things about the light switch. I never knew that. My dad talking about this process he would have to go through before he laid down in his bed at night, and he could not break that process. He had to do every one of these little things. My dad told me how he was a kid. He would sit there, lay there at night, and he'd have to have his feet pointed straight up, and he was scared to lift his feet. And I'm like, wow. Wow. And guys, I'm going to tell you, I'll fight the world for my dad. I've never known a greater man than my dad. But the fact is, when families don't talk, if my dad would have told me that,
understanding,
I would have had some frame of reference. You know what? This thing's in our family, and now Chaz is dealing with it.
Generational.
And I didn't know that. Okay. Then, some other things I dealt with that I'll talk about in a moment. But I just want to, again, we're blessed enough to have 2 sponsors in this podcast. And I just want to pause a minute and let's just let you know who else is sponsoring us today.
Feel like you would love a wholesome homemade meal, but there's just not enough time? With HelloFresh, all you need is 15 minutes and you'll be enjoying a tasty, satisfying meal made in your own kitchen. Just look for their quick and easy dinner options, plus quick breakfast and lunches too. Parents, you have enough back-to-school shopping and planning to do. Let HelloFresh get the groceries and save you some cash with pre-portioned meals delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Listen, Ron and I love HelloFresh. It's quick and it's easy, and we use it on the days that we work long days because I know that it's going to be quick and easy to make. So get your HelloFresh today. Go to HelloFresh.com/50 Ron and Hope. Use code 50 Ron AND Hope for 50% off plus free shipping.
When did you come down the steps one morning? And it kind of scared me because the kind of medicines you were on, you just don't quit taking them. They actually say they can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
And they tell people don't ever do that. But you came down the stairs one morning and
just said it.
I'm not taking no more medicine or something. What was? Do you remember that?
I do. It was like I said. I was tired of it, and I built up after that for so long dealing with it. It was like just a sheer determination that I'm just gonna do it, whatever I have to do. Like no matter how many comfort zone stepping outs I have to do, whatever. I was just gonna beat it. because I didn't want to live that way. I wanted to just be like just a normal kid.
And then you asked to go to school.
Yeah, and I asked to go to school, and I remember that next week, me and Mom went to go visit middle school, Beck, and we just walked around, just toured while they were in class, and I was like, all right, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So I went back to school.
This was a public school. Yeah, this was no specialty school.
This was 8th grade public school, so I went back to school for the first time in 8th grade public school. And I mean, it was one of my best years, and that's probably when I would say 8th grade is when I came out of that thing fully, pretty much, because not only, you know, everyone deals with anxiety to a normal extent.
Yeah, everyone
does.
I remember sitting while you were in your worst. I remember I ended up on a plane. I think this was God, with a clinical psychologist, sat right beside her. And I said, I know you're on a plane and you don't want to work. I said, but I'm just going to tell you, I got a son that's struggling, and I'm going to ask you some questions. And she told me, she said, sir, she says, everybody has some level of anxiety or nobody'd ever get anything done.
Yeah, it's normal.
She said, it's anxiety that makes you get up and take a bath. It's anxiety that makes you get your work done. It's anxiety that makes you clean up your house. I'd never thought about it like that. But then she said, but then there are anxiety disorders.
For no reason.
There are things where you feel the anxiety, but there's no reality in front of you or no challenge in front of you. Yeah. Now, I heard a very famous podcaster whom I really enjoy listening to a while back say he didn't think there was anything as clinical anxiety. Now, I'm going to tell you, as much as I love this guy, I take great issue with that. He said he thought it was just all people unmanaged thought lives. He you keep your mind positive, you're going to be peaceful. You let your mind be filled with negative things, you're going to have torment. I can go to the Bible and prove that. But I watched you have things that were out of your control.
Yeah.
You got them under your control. But when you were small, they were out of your control. Now, I had never experienced panic attack or anything else, but here again, this didn't help any, but me and Mom went through our thing.
Yeah.
When you were in high school. It was awful. It brought a lot of turmoil, a lot of stress on our house. It was everywhere in the media, and we were just getting killed from every side. Everybody that ever wanted to see us fall was taking shots, throwing darts, and having their field day. And our downfall was people's entertainment. And it's sad, but it was a tough reality. I remember the hurt from what happened in our marriage and then us being separated. I remember there's some people that can have panic attacks, not because there's a disorder, but because of a trauma.
Yeah.
And I remember during that time of separation, in the middle of the night, I actually ended up getting hospitalized. Yeah. I got hospitalized because I went 22 days with no sleep. Yeah. And I thought I was losing my mind, and I couldn't sleep. And I couldn't breathe. I didn't know why I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. They thought I was having a heart attack. The media was so bad I had to go into the hospital under an alias. And all of a sudden I remember laying there and saying, this is what you are feeling. I'm a grown man and I'm trying to get on top of it. You were 5, 6 years old trying to get on top of it. And it gave me a whole new grace when I experienced it myself, because it was not fun. So I said this. I want you to do two things. I want you to end it, Chaz, and we're short on time, so about 2 minutes apiece. What would you say to the young person struggling with what you struggle with, and then what would you say to the parents? Go.
That's tough.
Just an encouragement. What would you do?
I would say and this doesn't necessarily just apply to young people. I would say, like he said, I mean, you could be a grown man dealing with it, or you could be 12 years old, or it don't really matter, because anxiety doesn't discriminate. So, but I would just say, kind of like I did, there has to come a point to where
you have to confront it.
You have to confront it, and you have to want it for yourself, and you have to not want to be the same person and have to deal with it, because you have to want to be able to leave your comfort zone, because if you can always continue to go back to your comfort zone, you always continue to be the same person. So you have to want something different, and you also have to do something different if you want something different. So I would say get people around you. You know, it don't have to be a lot of people. I had a very small friend group. I had maybe 2 or 3 friends, but people that actually understand you.
They loved you and they understood
people who
you.
love you for who you are and know that, okay, even though this person's dealing with this, you know, I'm going to ride it out with them. But, you know, I'm also going to try to bring them out of what they're in and not let them just be complacent and struggle. And I had friends that did that. I had friends that would, you know, that would always kind of push me to do something else to just get me out. So I would say that you have to know the truth and stop settling for these lies in your head, because it's all just a trick of the enemy. And I found that out the hard way. But as you get older, you start to realize it's all just lies, and you believe them constantly. And the enemy just throws things in your head, and it don't take very long to, once you get that thought, you start to feel it, and it starts to become real, even though it's not real. But it feels real to you.
It feels real to you.
And so you just have to continue to do things and step out. And I would say if you are someone who takes multiple medications for it, and you take a bunch, you know, it's hard for me to say this because I don't know everyone's situation, but, you know, sometimes less is better. You know, less is more. And I know some people are diagnosed, they do have to have something specifically for them, and medically they need it. But, you know, once I started backing off of my medicine, that haziness in my head started to clear up more. I realized as I got a little older, I started to think better and like more clear. Even though the medicine was helping me for a while, it was numbing you. It was numbing me to things that I needed to help myself.
Right.
And I had to have a clear mind to be able to do that. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to get off your medicine. I'm just saying that
you got to confront it. What you're saying is
you can't use things to
you can't say I'm going to be numb and I'm going to go in my room forever.
Yeah.
You got to confront it. What would you say to the parents of those who have someone really struggling like that in their family?
I would just say to any parent, you have to try to be as understanding as you can. And even if you don't understand what's happening, you have to make them feel like you do. Because as a child, if you feel like your parent understands you, then
the level of comfort
will just build, and you'll begin to trust them more, and you'll be able to tell them more things that maybe you're struggling with that they don't know about. So you have to have understanding and let them know that you're there for them. And I would also say, you know, pray with them and you know, have nights of prayer, because we did that growing up
many
every
times.
Night. I remember what we would do is it would be out of the week. It would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but each night we'd go to a different room. So maybe Monday we'd go to my room. The whole family would come to my room. Tuesday it'd be Chase's room. Wednesday, Challenge room, and we'd all pray in the room together as a family. But we would just switch rooms each night.
And you remember pleading the blood?
Yeah, I remember that. So you walk out and plead the blood over the door, and find words in scripture that speaks and confronts the anxiety, because that's what you did, and I learned on my own too, and I still have those things today. Is, you know, there are scriptures and words specifically in the Bible that speak directly against anxiety. And tell you what to do, and tell you how to fight it and how to manage it, and ultimately how to break it. And, you know, that's what made me. That's how I got here.
How you got here today.
And if you didn't teach me those things, and I didn't have the drive to do it on my own after, you know, you guys are kind of there for me, then I wouldn't be here today where I am. I might be in my room still somewhere, just sitting in the corner. But
well, I'm going to give kudos to you. I do think that after we called on, we rallied around you to do what we can to give you the tools to succeed. But the fact is, like Chase and drugs, and that nobody around you can will you out of it. There's got to come a day where I am confronting this internally. You have to do it, because if you're going to win the battle like this or any other battle, it's always going to come from inside of you. It's not going to come from outside. Hey, guys, we love you. I hope this has helped. I hope it's encouraged. I hope it's gives some information. If not, just us kind of showing you our scars. You know, Jesus had to decide whether or not he was going to go to Thomas and show him his scars. And as painful as it is, I've realized that a whole lot more people seem to be touched by my scars and my pain and my failures than they do my trophies and my triumphs. So I've had to learn to be a little bit more vulnerable with my scars.
And I think, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think that's a big thing too. I'll say this for anyone else trying to help anyone who's struggling with it, but is you have to be, like you said, the vulnerability. You have to be someone who actually speaks out on what's bothering you, because if you don't tell your parents or whoever takes care of you or your friends or whatever, or if you're just a grown adult, you have to acknowledge it, because you can't fix it until you acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge that it is an issue, and that it's something that you want to fix, and it's something that is bothering you, because until you do that, then nothing will happen. You have to acknowledge it. Like you said, you have to be vulnerable. And if no one knows this is something that you deal with, then no one can help you. Yeah. So you have tell your closest friend, and hopefully they'll have that kind of heart towards you to help you, or tell your mom or tell your dad or whatever. But you
there's
have
somebody
to be
there though.
Yeah,
there's
there's someone that will listen to you.
There's an ear somewhere that'll listen to you,
because there is someone that's gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
So
anyway. Well, this has definitely been real, raw, and relevant, even though you hadn't had Hope's big smile and big blonde hair on here. You got me and Chaz. Chaz, I appreciate you sharing this. I'm looking forward to the feedback we get on it. I really think it's going to help some people. And I want you to know we love you. We appreciate you. Download, subscribe, like, whatever you got to do. Build the algorithm. Get this on more people's computers and phones, because we are taking the time out to do this, because we believe we're talking about topics and ways that we can't do it on a pulpit, but the way that it can get into your life and maybe make a difference. And every once in a while, make you laugh. All right? God bless you guys. We love you. Until next time, we'll see
Peace
you on
out.
Running Hope, Real, Raw, and Relevant.